What's up, guys? It's Isaac from the GTE Event Group, and today I have with me Cassandra Turner from Weddings by Cassandra. Sorry, I don't know why I spaced or goofed
And you know
there.
what's so funny, though? I appreciate you pronounce my name correctly.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's part of my job as a
Cassandra.
DJ.
Yeah.
Cassandra. I have Cassandra with me. And right now, guys, what I want to do is I want to talk business. The business of being in the wedding business with Cassandra. Now, you have just got done completing 20 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think about 4 or 5 months ago we celebrated
April.
with you.
Yep, thank you very much.
Yeah, very cool.
Yes.
So, I really wanted to do this podcast for those who want to be in this industry, who might be struggling with this industry. I really want this to kind of be a motivational video to just help them to grow their own clientele, to grow their business, and just kind of be just be I guess a sense of hope of, as long as they put their head down and work hard, they can kind of achieve what you've achieved. And I mentioned in the last podcast, I do see you as the GOAT of the wedding industry. I know it sounds weird, but I mean, when I think weddings, I think Cassandra.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
It's funny, like, no one will give me a time of day if they're in the wedding industry, right? And then I tell people, like, oh yeah, I'm part of the event circle. I'm actually an admin with Cassandra. Oh, you're with Cassandra?
Yeah.
You must be all right. It's crazy. It's like, so it's like I get that clout because you made me an admin, so thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
But anyways, you've been doing this 20 years.
Yes.
Once again, how did you get into the business?
So, as most everybody knows, I used to be part of a DJ company here in town.
Is that company still around?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just wondering.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh, you didn't?
I didn't know that until the last podcast when you said
I'll
that.
tell you that story off camera.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
So, I was like a DJ assistant.
Okay.
And we were at a wedding, and there was a bride who somebody made a comment to her, "Oh, I didn't know you hired a wedding planner." Mm-hmm. And she said, "Oh, I didn't. She's with the DJ." And I heard this, and I thought, wedding planner. I was going to Fresno State to be a teacher.
Okay.
And I thought, well, I don't want to do that. And so I changed my major to art and design, and I got certified as a wedding planner.
Okay.
And so just totally derailed my whole career path. And my first year I did 5 weddings, and that was 20 years ago.
Got it.
So,
now,
yeah.
The school you went to offered wedding
So it was
certification?
online school.
Okay.
So through Fresno State, my degree is in art and design. Now, Fresno State now has a certification in, I believe it's event planning. So it's not a major or a minor. Mm-hmm. I think it's like 3 or 4 classes that you can take, and you get a certificate in event planning. But what I did is through the National Bridal Service. It was an online course. It took me about 6 months. They would send you a video and a packet that you had to watch the video, fill out the packet, send it back, and they send you a new one. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to be certified, I guess, really, but it just kind of helps.
Yeah. Do you feel like it helped? I mean,
oh, absolutely.
I assume up to the time that you decided, hey, I'm going to be a wedding planner, how many weddings did you have under your belt as a DJ?
Maybe 3 or 4 years of doing weddings, helping. So for me, yeah, if you are an aspiring wedding planner, if I was to give somebody advice that really wanted to get into wedding like, for example, I had a bride a few years ago, maybe 10 years ago. We did her wedding. The month after her wedding, she called me and she said, "You know what? I decided I want to be a wedding planner." And I just kind of laughed in my head, because then she said, because planning my wedding was so fun. And I wanted to tell her, well, you had fun planning your wedding because I planned your wedding. Mm-hmm. You got to enjoy it. It's not always super fun.
Right.
So I said, okay. She was just a stay-at-home mom at this point. And I said, okay, I want you to come shadow me at one of my weddings, because I wanted to show her what she was about to step into. Right. So she said, okay, that's perfect. And I said, okay, I have a wedding next Saturday. Meet me at Copper River at 8 a.m. And she said, well, what time's the wedding? And I said, well, the wedding's at 5. And she said, oh, okay, well, what time will it be done? I said, midnight. And she kind of got quiet. Yeah. And she said, oh, okay. I said, you had no idea, right? And she said, no, I guess I didn't realize how long you were there at my wedding. I said, yeah, all day. So she came. She lasted the majority of the day, I would say, but not the whole 16 hours.
Okay. She went home early.
She went home early,
Okay.
which I never do. She went home early. And then I think maybe a week later, she called me and she was like, you know what? You're right. I am not cut out for this. That was nothing of what I was expecting.
Right.
So I think if you're anticipating that this is a career that you're interested in, I would suggest work in this industry for a few years before you start your own business.
Okay.
To just come right out and say you're going to be a wedding planner, I think would be really difficult if you do not have the experience of things that happen at weddings.
Do you believe those people should work for someone like us, someone who's established, or do you think that they should go and do it themselves?
No, I think if you work, and I don't say to people, like, if you want to be a DJ, go work for Isaac for a few years and then start your own. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that. I think that if you want to be a wedding planner, I think of one of the vendors that I think you should work for would be a rental company, because then you get to see what's involved with rentals. Mm-hmm. Or go work for a caterer, or go work for a florist delivering, you know what I mean? So kind of get a little taste of everything. Internships are key too. Every semester through Fresno State, I get probably, 1 to 2 interns that there's a class at Fresno State that they take that they have to work 75 hours outside of the class with an event planner. And so I get these kids that come in that either are thinking event management or wedding planning, and they work for me. And at the end, they either continue on or they change their major.
So how many of those people do you think change their major? Like
a lot.
Oh, okay.
So I have one girl, Savannah. Hi, Savannah, who I absolutely adored. She was one of my interns a few years ago. She was from Paso Robles. She went to Fresno State. She interned with me. She then moved back home, and she worked for a winery for a little while, doing events at a winery just to kind of get a little bit more experience. And then she started her own company. So she has a partner, and they do weddings over in Paso. And it's great because I refer weddings to her now.
Right.
I had a client call me getting married over on the coast, and it was a weekend that I just couldn't do it. And so I called Savannah and gave it to her.
Very cool.
So, and I felt comfortable to do that because I know that she's doing really well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now what about you do how many weddings a year? 20?
About 22 to 24, depending.
Got it. And you have one person who works for you?
Depends on the wedding.
Okay.
So I have my assistant Morgan, who she's pretty much my go-to. Like she can do a wedding on her own, a small wedding. If I have large weddings, I would have her and maybe 1 or 2 others that are with me. Not the whole day.
Right.
I'm not going to make anybody do that. But I would have, in the morning for setup, and then maybe towards the end of the night for tear down. Right.
Mm-hmm. So have you ever thought about growing? Cassandra, actually having wedding planners work for you?
So what my goal would be, and I would love to not work on Saturdays.
Okay.
I would love to have 3 or 4 weddings going.
Okay.
And I have done the itineraries for all 4. I have 4 girls that are working each wedding, and I pop in at each one. So that's my ultimate goal, I think, would be able to do that. Working every Saturday, that's pretty tiring. It's hard on your family. It's hard on your kids. Yeah. When I leave on a Saturday morning, my kids are usually still in bed, and I'll tell them, I'll see you tomorrow, because I'm not going to get home until well after midnight, and they're already in bed. So I think that would be awesome, is if I had the opportunity to have a hand in the planning, and there are some weekend. I'm only one person.
Right.
So September 7th, for example, there's certain days during the year. You guys know, you have nothing available, and you get somebody else that calls, and you wish you could take one more. So I think that'd be great for me to have competent people. Mm-hmm. I had another girl that worked for me, Andrea. Hi. She was amazing. I miss her so much. We had been friends for probably 10, 20 years. She started working for me just part-time, just something to kind of do that was fun. She worked with me so when I had my son Christian, who's now 4, through my pregnancy, towards the end of my pregnancy, I needed, competent people to help me on those last few weddings before I had the baby. So she was great. Like, I felt I had all the confidence in the world in her. And then they moved to Texas. And so, but she is now an events manager at a hotel in Houston. So that was great. But I wish I had her back.
So what stops you from hiring these
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's very difficult for me to relinquish control to someone else on something that has my name on it. I think that's it.
Right.
To where I would feel that, I don't know. I think it would just be hard for me to find people that I would feel comfortable enough to not be there.
Right.
And I know, okay, if I'm paying this person to be there, I'm not going to be there. And I think that would be hard.
So, I don't know. You tell me if your parents were like this, or my dad was like this. He would always tell me, if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself.
Absolutely. And that's why I've been doing this for 20 years, and I work 16 to 18 hours on a Saturday.
So, I had to break that mindset.
Yes.
Yeah, and
you did really good.
For me, it probably took place about 6-7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
When it's like, I can no longer think like that if I want to build a big organization.
Yeah.
And as you know, I would say that I think the guy who came up as the most popular guy after I kind of pulled back would be Alex. As a matter of fact, I remember getting your text one night. You worked with him for the first night. You guys were in Tenaya Lodge, and you're like, OMG, I love this guy. Yes. Where have you been hiding him?
Yes.
So,
I remember that.
Do you know how I wanted to respond to you? I wanted to respond like this. Cassandra, stop telling people to ask for me personally. I did it. I stopped myself.
Yeah.
But it was this close to typing it in.
Yeah.
And sending that to you.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
Yeah.
Anyways, you talked about like getting some of these Saturdays back. Do you know I probably haven't worked a Saturday in a year and a half?
I know. See.
And I
we should have shirts made that say "Be like Isaac."
No. No,
but that's great for you, because that's a goal to have.
Right.
Right, and you've been able to give your time back to your family.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's huge.
And to be able to financially be okay.
Correct.
So and I think so. What I started realizing when I was going to all these conventions.
Yeah.
I would go to Wedding MBA. I would go to WPPI. I'd be at Mobile Beat. I'd travel for our industry.
Yeah.
Not just the DJ side.
Yeah.
And at one point, I remember seeing how old some of these individuals were, and that were still doing this not because they necessarily wanted to. They never had an exit plan.
Right.
And it was part of their income, so they're stuck.
Yeah.
And
we're self-employed. We don't have retirement.
Well, it hit me one year being in Vegas, like, holy crap, that could be me if I don't make changes.
Yeah, I agree.
And then I ended up running across this book, and it was The E-Myth. Mm-hmm. Why most small businesses fail.
Yeah.
I don't know if you read that book, but phenomenal book. Well, anyways, to kind of give you a little blurb of the book.
Yeah.
The author was asked to speak at Harvard or something like that, right? And, all these students pile into a lecture hall. And he goes, I'm going to begin today's seminar by asking you guys a couple questions. My first question here is, how many of you guys make a better hamburger than McDonald's? And jokingly in the book, all the kids raise their hand. He goes, here's my next question. If you make a better hamburger than McDonald's, why does McDonald's have more money than you?
Yeah.
And it's like a light bulb went off. It was like, please tell me why.
Right.
And it was talking about how Ray Kroc was able to build systems within his company to put people to manage the system to get the same result every single time.
Yeah.
Now, up to this point of reading this book, I realized I made a lot of mistakes. I was just hiring anyone that was a DJ.
Right.
But you guys were referring me because of my personality, my energy, and my attitude.
Right.
So, like, a lot of, like, leading up to this, I had a lot of people on staff that didn't necessarily reflect the basic of my product, which was the personality.
Yeah.
They might be great DJs, but that's only one part.
Right.
And I was like, So I went back and I started realizing I need to hire more people like me.
Yeah.
So I could teach the skill if someone had an open mind and the willingness to learn.
Yeah.
And that's how pretty much, starting from Alex on, that's when the switch really helped with, or happened within my own organization.
Yeah.
And, I'm glad of where I'm at, and I'm very grateful for, I own GTE, I own Captured. You just found out that I kind of own I'm part owner in a flower company.
Isaac is taking over Fresno.
Yeah, I want people to call me the GOAT. I want me to go. No, but I see these mom and pop that they just drive themselves into the ground, producing a phenomenal product.
Yeah.
And they're taking all this time away from their family, and I didn't want to be like that, but I still wanted to own something that was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
And I had to learn to, I read this book that said, hey, if your company is operating at 20% of, or 80% successful, and you got to plan for those 20% mistakes as you bring in people, you're doing pretty good. I have to say, I feel like I'm running at 93%.
Yeah.
And, but it was all because, after reading that book, my training program is like no other.
Yeah.
You see, I think a lot of people see when I take my staff to Las Vegas.
Which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
I want to work for Good Times Entertainment.
See, but here's the thing, and I learned this with Alex. I remember first taking him to his first DJ convention, right? And after we were coming back home, he tells me, now I see why you say to do this and not that. Now, and once in a while, he wouldn't do it still.
Right.
He would still do things his way.
Right.
But he heard it from someone else.
So then it was okay.
It's like, dude, what the hell? Like, I had to bring you to Vegas?
I just spent all this money for you to listen to me? Yeah.
But it was in that moment that I realized this guy just moved up in the DJ world. And I was like,
yeah.
do I have to do this more often?
Yeah.
With the people I bring into my organization? Which is super cool, because now my guys are going out there and they realize, like, oh, Isaac, I get it. These guys kind of are, most of them, and there's some that are way up here, but most of our industry is, here's the bar, if something doesn't go well, that's okay.
Or whatever.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah.
But my mentality is like, no, mistakes should never happen.
Yeah.
If the mistake happened, what do we do to prevent it from happening again?
Absolutely.
Anyway, so from that, I have this amazing DJ company.
Yes.
And then I started a photography company.
Yeah.
You know why I started the photography company? Take a guess.
Because you wanted free family photos?
No.
Oh.
You ever had to chase a photographer to get some photos to promote like something awesome you did?
Yeah.
And then like it gets to the point where it's like they're not answering your calls or emails anymore, and they make you feel like you're bugging them.
Yeah.
Even though when you're at the event or days after, oh, I'm sorry, I'm just super wrapped up.
Yeah.
I got tired of trying to chase those photos.
Yeah.
I got tired of asking for those videos, and YouTube and Instagram and Pinterest, it wasn't what it was back then. So really all I had was that image if they gave it to me.
Right. That's true.
And
yeah.
And it was so much in my mind that like, this sucks.
Yeah.
In addition to it sucking, I was truly trying to build an organization at the same time.
Right.
And I was pouring money into advertising and marketing. So, here was my list of photographers I would refer out to, and I was referring out to a lot, because of how many leads I have coming in because of the money I was spending on marketing.
Right.
And I track everything. I could tell you who sends me how many leads every single year.
Yeah.
And at some point I realized, okay, here are the two photographers that were really supporting me.
Yeah.
And I think you guys know who you are, so I really appreciate it. Once in a while, someone else will send me, but there was two people that I actually probably, say they did their best.
Yeah.
I was spending too much money sending business elsewhere when I could have kept that marketing dollars in-house. And that's when I stepped back and started thinking, like, I'm tired of chasing photos. Yep. I'm tired of chasing video. I want to capitalize on my own marketing. I want to start my own photography company.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I got to here.
And they bailed us out one time, too.
Yes. And the crazy thing is, I don't have a passion for photography. I have a passion for delivering awesome photos. Well, I don't have to have that passion.
Well, and I think to have passion in our industry, it's to have passion for weddings.
And
being on a team that creates awesome weddings. You know, whether you're playing music, whether you're taking pictures, whether you're cooking food, whether you're making the itinerary, whatever you're doing, if you're a team player, then I think it's great for all of us.
Right.
Right? And every once in a while, there'll be a vendor or a company that'll come through and they don't last because they're not willing to be a team player.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of lasting, how did you go from you leaving this DJ company, right? You did 5 weddings like that first year you said, to the clientele that you have. Like, you have the ideal clientele.
So I was doing weddings by Cassandra part-time until about 11 years ago. So I've been doing it for 20 years. So up until 11 years ago, it was part-time. Because financially, I couldn't just do weddings. So I was working at the Black Tie Tuxedo Shop. And
I didn't know that either.
You didn't?
No.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I worked for Jack Hurley at the Black Tie for, oh my gosh, I think probably 6 years. And I helped with the bridal shows. I first met Jack in 1995 when he was doing, do you remember Wedding Magic? So Wedding Magic was the original bridal show in Fresno before Premier Bride came.
Okay.
And it was a 2-day show. It was Saturday and Sunday. And it was huge. That was it. That was the show to do. And then he got out of it. Premier Bride came in. And so when I met my husband and I was able to kind of step back from working at the Black Tie and focus on weddings full time, then that's when I was able to really kind of branch out. I have amazing clients that give me amazing referrals. And I think that's key. Right. I have a huge clientele in the North Valley, Chowchilla area. Hey, Chowchilla. South Valley. So, you know, I have a lot of farming families that love my work and, you know, refer me. And I think that's key. I mean, you can advertise as much as you want and you can pay to be in magazines. You can pay to be pay to go to a bridal show. You can do a stylized shoot. You can do all these things, but if you're not getting the referrals from actual customers, then you're not doing your job properly.
Right. So let me ask you. So, like I said, you really cater to a certain type of clientele now. And, you know, I mean, I know you say you kind of have all budgets, but like all the cool things that I see you do, like, man, I wish I had more of those clients more often, like you do. How did you get the first one that kind of snowballed to the rest of them? Like, so
I had a client who, my first Chowchilla client, the wedding was actually at Wolf Lakes.
Okay.
And I did her daughter's wedding at Wolf Lakes. And then she introduced me to a handful of people in Chowchilla. And I would say that Chowchilla has been good to me. And we've been able to do a lot of really cool things based on that one wedding. My South Valley families, the Sorensens, like I said before, you have these groups of families that all have kids that are all the same age. All their kids are all getting married at the same time. And so it's just referral after referral after referral. Remember my Kingsburg wedding? The two? So I had 2 twins.
Oh, yes. I remember that.
Okay, so
on the river.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
So
cool.
one twin got married in March. The other twin got married in July.
Right.
What's crazy is the March couple, they are pregnant with twin girls.
Oh, really cool.
They have a little boy, and now they're going to have twin girls. So love that. I think it's awesome. But so, for example, those were 2 weddings that I did in the same year for the same family. And that was crazy.
So this is something I'm dying to know. When you did the first wedding that kind of propelled you to where you're at right now, as far as the clientele.
Yeah.
Did you charge what you were worth at the time? Or did you undercharge?
I feel that up until about 4 years ago, I was always undercharging myself.
Got it.
Once I started getting people telling me they couldn't afford me, that was the only reason they didn't hire me, that's when I felt, okay, I'm charging what the market will take.
Right.
Do I still think I'm undercharged? Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people tell me all the time, you need to charge more, you need to charge more. So I understand that to a point, but I still want to work.
Right.
I don't necessarily want to be so high priced that I do 2 weddings a year.
Right.
Which, I feel that, I could charge, but I find that every time I raise my prices, which I do, I would say probably at least every other year, if not once a year, I reassess kind of where I'm at.
Got it.
But I think that once I started getting people actually telling me, the only reason we didn't hire you was we just couldn't swing it in the budget, then I kind of went, okay, that's the limit. Because you have to look at the market that you're in.
Right.
If we lived in LA or we lived in San Francisco, we could charge a lot more for what we do.
Right.
But we're in Fresno.
Well, I think it kind of goes back to, I'm so glad that I started hiring staff and investing in my staff when I did, because now it's kind of like, you can't afford it's great. Afford someone else we're investing in.
Yes, exactly.
It's your next best bet, because I realized that, our for my top DJs, it's I think we're probably the highest by,
yeah.
For our top tier DJs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But what I tell people is, in terms of when I'm meeting with them and I do a free consultation, is if I can usually tell within the first 10 to 15 minutes if they're going to hire me or they're not.
Right.
And then what my goal at that point is, I'm not going to then just shut it off and okay, whatever. I will. If they say, we can't really swing a coordinator, I want to make sure that they're going to get a good DJ.
Right.
Because in my opinion, if you don't have a coordinator, you better have a good DJ.
Yeah.
And you guys know that if you have a wedding, there's no coordinator, is your job harder?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's funny because couples don't know that.
They don't know that.
They have no idea.
They don't know that.
The way I always looked at it was like this. Like you mentioned team earlier. You got to have a good vendor team.
Yeah.
To me, I see the wedding coordinator as the coach.
Yes.
He's the one that is like, hey, I want you to run it like this because we need this outcome.
Yep.
Now, if you remove and don't have a coach, you need a badass quarterback. That's where I was going to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone's kind of like, okay, cool, I've done this a bazillion times, guys.
Exactly.
I'm still going to lead you guys to victory.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And the wedding would still be great and everything would be fine. But I always feel that as the coordinator, it's our job to make sure that all of our players have the information in advance, not an hour before you're going to start. Here's our timeline. Be prepared, do meetings in advance. I do, which you guys have been to before, my production meetings.
Right.
Where if I'm at a venue that my DJ's never been at, or it's a tricky setup, or it's going to rain and we need to change something,
Or we're really far on the grass and you have to park way over there.
Yes. There's no power.
Yeah.
So it's always something that I'll bring in all the necessary vendors 6 months before the wedding. We'll have a meeting at the venue and I'll tell everybody, okay, this is where you're going to be. This is where that's going to be. If you don't have a coordinator, that falls on the bride. You've got to make sure that all of your vendors are aware and that everybody, a lot of times I have my core group that I love to work with. And if I know, I've got Good Times, I've got Jason doing power from setting the stage, I've got Pardini's doing catering, I've got, everybody knows how everybody works.
Right.
And it's so much smoother. But I know that everybody knows how everybody works because I've been able to organize them on an itinerary in a way that is going to work.
Right.
We had a wedding at Pinoche Creek where we ran power a different way than they've ever run it before. And now, from now on, that's how I'm always going to do it. And it puts the DJ right next to the dance floor, which they weren't doing before. And it was a simple solution of running power underneath the dance floor. And we were just like, well, of course that's what we're going to do.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Cool deal. All right. Well, guys, I don't know if you can see our production guy, Chris from Captured in the house. I'm sure one camera's got his back. The other one's about to get his face. Thank you for coming and checking the cameras, my dude. Awesome. So, yeah, that's really cool. So, as far as kind of getting what you're worth, I think that's something that I'm passionate about. Like, just kind of helping vendors kind of go from where they're at. If they want to go further.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like I've been able to do that pretty successfully.
Yeah.
You know, and you're right. You know, I feel like even at our top price, our top packages, that if we go any higher, we're already out of the market.
Yeah.
It's like, but I'm tempted to go even higher because people don't care.
Because you'll get your handful of people that they're going to pay it.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I think sometimes too with vendors that I have a lot of clients that will come to me and say, "Hey, I found this photographer. They're only charging this much. What's wrong with them?"
Yeah.
So I think that goes across the board for all vendors, to where we need to be charging, you know, one, what the market can handle, but two, don't undercut yourself so cheaply that, okay, you're the cheapest DJ in town, which means you're working every single weekend because people are booking you because you're cheap.
Right.
But some people won't book you because you're cheap. Because why is that person so cheap? I'm not going to use them.
Right.
So you have to be careful about that too.
Most definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I'm sure, I don't feel like you're affected by people undercutting you. I mean, do you feel it like?
You know what? Every once in a while, because I've been in it for 20 years, there'll be this influx every once in a while of girls that come in, or guys, you know, companies that'll come in, new coordinators, and sometimes they stick around and sometimes they fizzle out. I think a lot of it is people get into it and they don't understand how hard it is. Super stressful.
Yeah.
I mean, ask my husband. I mean, this is a very stressful job, and I don't think people understand it.
Right.
It's not just a party planner. I mean, there's so many things that are on my shoulders that people don't realize.
It's a moving part, there's so many moving pieces.
So I think that happens. Plus, I think that that's not as glamorous as they think it's going to be, and they just don't make it.
Right.
You know, so there's a handful of us that, you know, have stuck it out. There's probably been at least 4 times in the last 20 years when I have said, I'm not doing this anymore. And I've tried other things, and it's just always in my blood. Like,
does it bother you, those that come in for a little bit and then gone?
Yes, because sometimes what they do is they'll burn bridges that I have built with vendors. So if you're a coordinator and you come into town and you do not do a good job, then other vendors have a bad taste in their mouth about wedding coordinators.
Right.
So I'm glad that I've been in business long enough that people know you're going to get my itinerary 10 to 14 days before. I'm going to be in communication with you well before the wedding. They know how I work. They know it's me.
Right.
And so it's one of those situations where, yeah, if you're doing a bad job, for us who have been here for a long time, you kind of tarnish the whole wedding coordinator role's image, because you didn't do it properly. So now I call a photographer and say, "Oh, hey, we have a wedding together," and they just worked with a bad coordinator. They kind of So yeah.
Yeah, that happens quite a bit.
Yeah.
It drives me nuts. To me, they ruin our industry.
Yeah.
They drive down the prices.
Yeah.
That's the first and foremost. Like, I got to build a name for myself. Great. You plan to stick it out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
You don't come in and undercut the market just to fizzle out for whatever reason. You know, that's the part that truly drives me nuts.
Yeah.
You know. Let me see here. What else was I going to ask you? You want to ask me anything?
No, the other thing I was going to maybe talk about with you was the event circle.
Oh, yes.
So,
let's explain what it is.
Okay, so the event circle is, it's a networking group that I started with Lanny Gowdy and Mariah Walton, the Linen Shop and Simply Flowers, probably, oh my gosh, I don't even know, 7 years ago. We were wanting to find a networking group for us to join.
Right.
So we had looked into the Fresno Women's Network, all kinds of different Chamber of Commerces, and it was just hard for us because in our industry there's certain months that are super busy that we can't meet.
October.
There's
September. May.
October, fall, spring. There was, scheduling conflicts. We all had kids. We were all working moms. We're like, we need something for us. And we couldn't find anything. So we just did it ourselves, and we started the Event Circle.
Right.
So the Event Circle started as a Facebook group that we originally started meeting for lunch once a month. And it was awesome. I loved it. It got very daunting because we went about a year or so, and everybody was really gung-ho about meeting once a month, and then people kind of fizzled out. And it's hard. We have, I don't know how many members we have now,
think I saw
but
600.
600 different
612
businesses.
or something, yeah.
So it's all event industry businesses. So it's photographers, DJs, florists, coordinators, rental companies, anything that you would need. And the page has kind of evolved to networking amongst ourselves, but asking questions about products or equipment,
vendors,
shows,
wedding shows.
Hey, somebody, there's a show coming up. What information does everybody have? Or I love it. I use it as kind of like cheating for me, because I'll go on there and say, okay, I have a wedding on October 5th. Who's available?
Right.
And people respond quickly, and you're able to really network and get information out to people quickly. I know you kind of stepped in and wanted to kind of try to get the lunches going again, and just kind of, and it's hard. I mean,
that event I threw was tough.
It was awesome though. You did great. Isaac had a speaker come in, and it was awesome. But it's funny to me, because my biggest pet peeve with the Event Circle was, we would have these lunches and people would RSVP and then cancel or not show up. And I would always say to myself, we are in an industry that is driven by RSVPs.
Right.
And you as a professional do not know what that means. So I think for me, if we could get the lunches back up and running of some sort, I would love that.
Right.
I would love it, but it's just hard.
I don't know if you feel the same way. I think we should go back to the group and start deleting some people, because I think there's so many businesses like those planners that came in and fizzled out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that's a good idea. And then I kind of nipped a few in the bud a couple weeks ago, because there was a few people posting in there, and I don't think they realized brides are not in there.
Right.
Like, there was a photographer that was posting information about their packages and this sort of thing, and I responded and I said, just so you know, brides do not see this.
Right.
So we don't necessarily need to know this information. So yeah, that's a good idea. We should probably go through there and kind of weed out anybody that you know,
and somehow get everyone active, like do a roll call, like who's still on here, who's paying attention.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And how to
yeah, what do you guys want to, I mean, it's great. I mean, I think it's been really kind of an interesting group of people for a long time.
Right.
And it's a good way to kind of get information out. I know somebody I don't remember which DJ it was, that was asking about some equipment, and maybe it was Jeff Monroe.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I loved it because it just gives you a platform to talk. A lot of times when you're at a wedding and you're working with vendors, you're working that event. Yeah. You don't necessarily have time to chit chat and ask questions. And that was the one thing I loved about the lunches, because I love my vendor friends. I mean, those are my friends.
Right.
A lot of us, we are self-employed. I do not have other people that I get to hang out with at work, except Isaac. So I thought it's cool, because when we do lunches together, we talk to each other and we learn about your family, your wife, your kids. Where'd you go on vacation? And it's not always work talk.
Right.
So
what Cassandra is saying is we need to bring back our lunches.
We do.
All right.
So when you get a message from me and Isaac, RSVP and show up.
Yes, and commit to the RSVP. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Well, and we had a lot of really great restaurants and caterers that were willing to host us. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of, maybe we just say, hey, the first Tuesday of every single month, we pick a restaurant and everybody just goes. And whoever's going to go, you go, and you buy your own lunch and do it that way. Maybe that's what we need to do, instead of trying to, because what we were having issues was getting people to prepay, and then having to pay the caterer. My goal originally was, with the lunches, was to have everybody, at different venues. Mm-hmm. so we could see it.
Right.
You know, if there was something coming up, is there a new venue? Is there, you know, we went to Wolf Lakes, we went to Pardini's, we went to Painted Table. You know, so to get us out, you know, to see these different venues. But I think if we just all were able to meet at one point during the month, I think it would be helpful.
You know what? We should bring those back.
Yeah.
And I'll look into, maybe, well, I won't say next month, but I know we're all Of course, we wait till the busiest month to start these things again.
Well, I know. It's been so nice because, you know, now it's like, I always feel this time of year we're at the top of a roller coaster, right? And we're all about to just kind of, I mean, in my head, it's December 8th.
Yeah.
I mean, for you, it's probably like January 4th. But for me, yeah, pretty much starting from next weekend on.
Yeah. Yeah. We're about to go from 0 to 100 real fast.
Yep.
So Event Circle. As far as the Event Circle goes, I always thought it'd be kind of cool to bring in a speaker of some sort.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
maybe
that speaker you had, he was awesome.
Yeah, Chris Evans.
Yeah.
He truly helped or was part of my growth.
Yeah.
He has a book called How to Double Your Wedding Business in the Next 12 Months.
Yeah.
It was
maybe that's something too. If you guys have any ideas of speakers or topics,
right?
One thing I would love to have somebody come in and discuss with us is retirement, life insurance, things that, you know, maybe not everybody who is self-employed has thought of. You know, things that, you know, maybe have an accountant come in or have, you know, somebody come in. You know, it doesn't always have to be industry driven. It could just be, you know, life driven, you know. So maybe if you guys have ideas of things that you would want the Event Circle to start doing, let us know.
I think one of the things that I would like to do is talk about sales. Yeah. I really feel like, you know, I put out, because the wedding MBA is like, hey Isaac, you wanna speak? And I was like, what would I speak about?
Yeah.
And anyways, I didn't go and try out like I wanted to, but now that I'm here, I really think that picking up the phone, what do you say? You know?
Well, now this is something too that I was thinking about. Okay, so you had posted on the Event Circle about MBA this year. Okay. And a lot of people's response was, why is it in October? Which, why? Why is it in October? Why couldn't there be something locally? Not of that caliber, obviously, but why couldn't we have something like that in the Central Valley where we dictate when it is? I wish it was in July. Right?
Yeah, or August when it's slow.
I mean, July and August, it's so funny. How many of us in the industry, when did you get married?
Put me on the spot. November 25th.
Okay, so you're odd, but most of us got married in July and August because it's slow.
Right.
And so it's so funny because everybody's anniversaries are right now, like all of us.
Right.
And so I think that if we had something locally in July or August, we could capture a lot more of our local vendors. You know, or is there something else? Is there something on the West Coast that we could all participate that is a time that, I mean, because there's no way, I could never even imagine trying to go do something like that, even though, it's in the middle of the week. For me, that doesn't matter.
No, I agree. If I didn't have a staff,
there
is no way I could travel as much as, you know, I travel. So
I think if anybody has any resources or any ideas for any educational experiences like that, let us know on the Event Circle.
That'd be cool.
Because then I think the more educated we are as an industry in the Valley, the better off everybody is.
Cool. Yeah. And I am going to post this video on the Event Circle. So if you watch this all the way through, do me a favor. Just give us a thumbs up emoji on that thing. Just not just a like, but a thumbs up. I want to see how many people actually watch this thing
I know.
to the very end.
Yeah.
But other than that, Cassandra, I mean, man, just been a fun hour and a half or something.
Yes. I know. My husband sent me a text. How'd it go?
Like
a half hour ago.
Very cool.
Yeah.
If anyone else wants to come and talk, you know, on this podcast, I really designed this to hopefully help boost our industry, whatever it is. You know, whatever.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah. So I just kind of, I just want to help.
Well, and I think too, putting a face to a name for businesses, like when you had Maddie in, and everybody's like, who's Maddie? Well, that's Irene.
Yeah.
Well, who's Irene? Well, that's Maddie.
Right.
And so I think, if we as an industry are, more interactive with each other, it just helps everybody.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Most definitely. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you guys want, please follow and subscribe to my channels. I have other videos on there that you won't see in the event circle on Facebook. We give out wedding planning tips and advice to couples. You guys might want to see those videos of things that we're sharing with them. And also on there, I have a bunch of stuff in regard to my companies and the things that we do on the YouTube channel. It's Isaac Atkinson. Just look up that. If you want to follow me on IG, it's Isaac_Atkinson_. If you guys want to follow GTE Event Group, it's IG GTE Event Group. And what about you, Cassandra? If people want to get a hold of you or follow you,
weddingsbycassandra.com is my website. There's a contact me section that you can fill out, or look for us on Facebook and Instagram, Weddings by Cassandra.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you. And if you guys need any help, if you guys have any suggestions, please let us know. Comment on the video. Other than that, you guys take care, and I guess we'll see you on the next video.
See you later.
Bye. All right. Oh.